Autumn 221 BCE, northern frontier of the Qin Empire. Cold winds sweep down from the Mongolian steppe, carrying the smell of dust and horse sweat. In the half-light of dawn, a lone figure stands upon a ridge of red earth. Ying Zheng, the first emperor of a unified China. His black armor gleams with dew. Beneath him stretches a horizon of fractured mountains and crumbling fortresses, remnants of the old warring states. Smoke curls from the ruins of Zhao watchtowers. Beyond them, endless plains where the Xiongnu horsemen roam like ghosts. The emperor's voice is calm, yet thunderous in command. The world has been carved into one. Now it must be bound as one. Behind him kneel 100 ministers, generals, and engineers, men who once served rival kings. Now, under the banner of the Black Dragon, they serve heaven's chosen ruler. The imperial decree spreads like wildfire. From the capital at Xianyang, sealed scrolls bearing the jade insignia of the Qin are dispatched in all directions, west to Longxi, north to Yanmen, east to Liaodong. Each message carries a single command: join the walls. For centuries, regional kingdoms had built their own barriers, crude ramparts of tamped earth, meant to slow northern raiders. Now, for the first time in history, these scattered defenses will become one colossal spine of the empire. Tens of thousands of conscripts are drafted, peasants, prisoners, and soldiers, their names scratched onto bamboo slips. They march toward the frontier, chains rattling, faces turned to the cold wind. Among them walks Liang, a farmer from the Yellow River Valley. He carries nothing but a wooden shovel and a pouch of millet. As he marches north, he wonders if he will ever see his family again. Weeks later, the first camps rise along the Yin Mountains. Fires flicker like stars across the desolate ridges. Qin engineers, trained in the art of rammed earth construction, command the laborers with precision. Massive wooden frames, called hang-tu, are filled layer by layer with yellow soil, tamped by bronze and stone. Every thud reverberates across the valley, a heartbeat of empire. The overseer shouts, 12 layers, each packed until the pole rings like bronze. The builders obey in silence. The ground trembles beneath thousands of synchronized strikes. Thump, 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 until the wall begins to rise from the dust. From dawn till moonlight they labor. Men faint under the weight of earth-filled baskets. Others are buried in sudden landslides. Yet the work continues, driven by the emperor's unyielding will. In the evenings, when the winds still, the camp grows quiet. Liang sits by the dying fire beside an old soldier named Ming, one of the emperor's generals tasked with supervising the frontier. The general's face is scarred and solemn. He gazes toward the dark horizon. Liang, will this wall keep them out forever? Meng Tian, not forever. Nothing made by man lasts forever, but it will give the world time for China to breathe. Lightning flashes far off in the north. In that moment, the silhouette of the unfinished wall gleams like a serpent stretching across the mountains. By spring, the frontier transforms into a living organism. Supply lines stretch for miles, caravans bringing grain, bamboo, and timber. Engineers mark each section with engraved tablets, built under heaven's mandate by the hands of Qin. The wall becomes a map of the empire's reach, climbing cliffs, cutting through deserts, snaking along ridges where even eagles fear to rest. Yet for every mile completed, dozens perish. The dead are buried where they fall, their bodies mixed into the wall itself. The bones beneath the stones, whispers spread among the workers. Still, the emperor presses on. From his palace in Xianyang, he watches reports carried by horse relay. Miles of wall completed, towers raised, beacons lit. The dream of an eternal frontier takes shape, one tamped layer at a time. At sunset, in a rare moment of calm, Qin Shi Huang stands before the first completed section, a rampart stretching across the horizon. The wind tears at his cloak, carrying the scent of lime and dust. He turns to his scribe. "Write this. The northern wind shall not enter the Middle Kingdom again. Heaven favors the strong, and the strong build to last." The camera pans wide, the Emperor a solitary shadow against the rising wall. Behind him, thousands of torches ignite one by one, snaking into the distance. A river of fire outlining the birth of the Great Wall. The drums sound. The workers cheer faintly through cracked voices. And in the vast silence of the northern night, the first empire of China draws its boundary against eternity. Winter, 220 BCE, the Yin Mountains. The world here is made of dust, wind, and the cry of crows. The northern gales slice across the ridges like knives, lifting curtains of frozen earth that sting the eyes. Beneath this merciless sky, the work of an empire continues without pause. From a distance, the construction site looks like an army of ants swarming across a wounded mountain. Thousands of laborers, peasants, convicts, soldiers, move in rhythm, carrying baskets of soil on their shoulders, climbing rickety ladders, hammering wooden frames into place. The sound of bronze tampers striking packed earth echoes like thunder. Thump, thump, thump. Every strike drives another heartbeat into the growing wall. At the center of the chaos stands Chief Engineer Gongshu, his fur-lined robe powdered with dust. A bamboo scroll in his hand bears the Emperor's command: bind the mountains into one. Around him, the engineers measure and mark, chanting dimensions aloud. Foundation width, 12 paces. Elevation rise, 2 men high. Their instruments, wooden levels, measuring cords, and water bowls, glint in the pale light. No marble, no steel, only soil and willpower. Gongshu watches as a section collapses under its own weight, burying 3 men. He doesn't flinch. The dead are dragged aside, replaced within moments. The work must go on. Liang, the farmer-turned-builder, struggles to lift his basket of dirt. His hands are cracked and raw, his breath turning white in the cold. Each evening, he lines up with hundreds of others for a ladle of millet gruel. He carves small notches into a stick, one for each day survived. So far, there are 57. When the overseer's whip cracks, no one dares speak. Rumors spread through the camp that those who fall are buried within the wall, the bones beneath the stones. Liang doesn't know if it's true. He only knows that the ground feels heavier beneath his feet each morning, as if the earth remembers. At night, fires burn low. Wind whistles through unfinished battlements like ghosts sighing over the dead. An old mason named Han sharpens his trowel beside Liang. Han, in my province we built small walls to keep goats in, not men out. Liang, then why build this one? Han, because the Emperor dreams of forever, and men like us make that dream heavy enough to stand. Their laughter fades into silence. Above them, stars shimmer over the unfinished ridges, the same constellations seen by soldiers and shepherds for 1,000 years. By early spring, the wall takes form. Massive earth ramparts rise like sleeping dragons, their surfaces beaten smooth by thousands of hands. Engineers invent new methods: rammed earth mixed with straw and lime, timber scaffolds with stone anchors, beacon towers spaced by line of sight. Each tower is capped with a clay brazier ready for fire signals. Communication across mountains, minutes, not days. The imperial quartermasters oversee the lifeline of supplies. Ox-drawn carts loaded with bamboo, millet, and salt, grinding endlessly through narrow passes. Behind every cart, the empire's veins pulse, feeding the frontier with life, consuming thousands to build one. Weeks later, an inspection. General Ming rides up the slope, his horse shuddering in the cold wind. He dismounts and surveys the wall, stretching across the horizon, a band of ochre against blue-gray sky. Meng Tian, this will outlast the wind itself. Gongshu, if heaven allows. Meng Tian, heaven had its chance. Now it's the Emperor's turn. He turns away as another section is raised. workers chanting to keep time. In their rhythm, you hear both devotion and despair. Days blend into months. The frontier becomes a graveyard of effort, yet also a marvel. Even the steppe tribes who watch from afar begin to whisper of it. The serpent of earth grows each day. The sky itself will soon need a wall. For every mile completed, more banners rise, fluttering black against the wind, symbols of unity born from ruin. The empire stretches farther than any man can walk, but here, at its bleeding edge, its power is made real, in blisters, sweat, and crushed stone. As the camera drifts upward, the scene widens, thousands of tiny figures laboring below, dust glowing gold in the dying sun. The wall carves through mountains like a scar, catching the light like a blade. The sound of drums carries through the valley. Night approaches again, and with it, the unending order of heaven. To build, no matter the cost. Late autumn, 219 BCE. The northern frontier. The winds no longer sing, they howl. Frost whitens the wall's crown, tracing its curve across the ridges like the spine of a sleeping dragon. Smoke curls from beacon towers where Qin sentinels keep their lonely watch. The great wall stands, vast, cold, and silent. A wound stitched into the earth. Atop one of these towers, a young soldier named Shen peers into the pale distance. The horizon quivers with heatless light. Beyond it lies the steppe, endless, empty, and alive with unseen motion. He tightens the leather strap of his bronze helmet, his breath fogging the air. Below, a patrol marches along the rampart, the rhythm of boots and shields echoing faintly through the mist. From the parapet, the wall feels eternal. From the valley, it feels impossible. But to the men who guard it, it feels like exile. The garrison at Juyong Pass hums with weary order. Soldiers repair shields, fletch arrows, and train beside the frozen riverbed. Horses, their coats matted with frost, stamp and snort in the cold. Along the inner ramparts, banners bearing the black dragon emblem flap in the biting wind. At the heart of the camp, General Meng Tian inspects his men. His armor, lined with wolf fur, gleams faintly in the fading light. Meng Tian, the steppe watches us as we watch them. Remember this, the wall is not only stone, it is sight. His words hang in the air, carried off by the wind. The men nod, their faces expressionless, but their eyes alert. That night, the frontier glows with fire. Beacon towers, spaced by line of sight, burn faintly along the horizon. Each flame a heartbeat of empire. Inside the barracks, soldiers warm their hands around clay lamps. Shen sits among them, listening to an older veteran recite the old tales of raids before the wall when the Xiongnu thundered down from the north like storm gods. Veteran, we built this to keep them out. But mark my words, boy, they're still out there, watching, waiting for the wind to change. Outside, the wind shifts. The torches flicker. From the dark plains below, faint horse cries echo through the night. Distant, but real. Dawn. The wall is bathed in silver frost. A scout rides in from the northern ridges, his horse foam lathered, his eyes wide with fear. He kneels before Meng Tian. Scout, they've crossed the yellow sands, riders without number. The steppe burns behind them. The general gives no reply. He turns toward the horizon, where a black dust storm is forming, rolling like a living tide. Drums thunder across the ramparts. Soldiers grab spears, fasten armor, and line the wall's edge. Gongshu's beacon towers roar to life, flames leaping from brazier to brazier, carrying the signal hundreds of miles within moments. In the valleys below, the echoes of horns rise, the first alarm of war along the new frontier, the battle at the wall. Under a sky of swirling dust, the Xiongnu charge, swift shadows on horseback, arrows darkening the air. The clash of bronze-tipped shafts rings out as Qin archers return fire from the ramparts. Horses fall screaming, Men vanish in dust and noise. Shen, trembling but resolute, raises his bow beside the veterans, loosing shaft after shaft until his fingers bleed. Meng Tian rides along the inner path, his commands cutting through chaos. Meng Tian, hold the height! The wall was built to break their storm. The Xiongnu hurl torches at the base of the rampart, smoke and screams rising together. But the wall holds. Its earth, hardened by thousands of hands, stands unmoved. When the wind clears, the plain below is littered with broken spears and motionless forms. Night returns. The fires are extinguished one by one. The surviving soldiers sit in silence beneath the stars. The wall is scarred but unbroken, its surface streaked with soot and blood. Shen stares into the void beyond the ramparts, the same void the Emperor once swore to seal away. Shen, whispering, "We built the world's edge, and it still looks back." Meng Tian walks the wall alone, his cloak trailing in the wind. He touches the cold stones, feeling the tremor of the day still within them. Meng Tian, heaven does not stop the wind, but it remembers who stood against it. The camera pans upward, the torchlight flickering along the wall like veins of fire beneath a frozen sky. Beyond, the dark plains stretch forever, silent and endless. Spring 141 BCE, the western frontier of Han China. The wind over the Gobi no longer bites, it hums. Decades have passed since the Qin fell. Their empire crumbled beneath its own weight, but the wall still stands. Now, under the Han Dynasty, the stones bear fresh carvings, new banners, and the same old silence. Beneath a morning sun blurred by desert haze, caravans creak along the ancient ramparts, wagons loaded with silk, grain, and bronze. The frontier that was once a wound has become a pulse. At Yumen Pass, the Gate of Jade, traders from distant lands arrive with camels heavy with spices, wool, and glass from the west. The wall, once a line of fear, now hums with voices. Chinese merchants bartering with Central Asian riders, officials recording goods on bamboo scrolls, soldiers watching warily from their towers. The empire breathes outward, turning stone and dust into veins of connection. Inside a command pavilion overlooking the desert, Emperor Wu's envoy, Zhang Qian, kneels before General Huo Kubing, the young commander who has become the legend of the North. Huo's armor gleams with bronze and wolf fur. His gaze is sharp, distant. Huo Kubing. Beyond the sands lies more than enemies. There are roads, and those who walk them, Zhang Qian. The wall will no longer divide, General. It will guide, the general nods. Behind them, maps scatter across the table, silk routes drawn in fresh ink, lines stretching far beyond the horizon. The camera lingers on the flicker of a lamp flame over the inked mountains, symbolizing new ambition lit within the bones of the old empire. As spring deepens, the wall transforms into a living artery. Beacon towers once used for warning now light the way for traders and soldiers alike. Fortresses become caravan rest stations, filled with the smell of horses, millet porridge, and incense. Drums signal not alarms, but arrival. Along the ramparts, Han soldiers patrol on horseback, their armor lighter and more ornate than the Qin's, faces shaded by woven reed helmets. Children of settlers play in the shadow of the wall, chasing each other through the dust. The empire, it seems, has learned to live with its own edge. Farther west, Huo Kubing's cavalry rides across the dunes, spears glinting in the heat. The wall fades behind them, a low scar on the horizon. They gallop toward the lands of the Xiongnu, no longer to defend, but to strike. The battle scenes unfold under a burning sun. Sandstorms swirl, banners tear, and the thunder of hooves drowns out the wind. Huo leads from the front, his wolf pelt cloak trailing like a banner of vengeance. Huo Hubing, tell heaven, the sons of Han ride beyond its walls. His men roar, their charge swallowed by the storm. Weeks later, the frontier is quiet again. The wall now shelters merchants and pilgrims instead of soldiers. Caravan bells jingle through the mountain passes at dusk. Traders from Parthia and Sogdia bring exotic goods, lapis, glass, grapes, their faces lined by the same wind that once carved warriors. The Great Wall becomes a bridge between worlds, shimmering in the heat like a mirage made real. At dusk, Zhang Qian stands atop the ramparts of Yumen Pass, watching the sunset burn across the desert. The horizon glows crimson, the same color as the imperial banners fluttering above him. He turns to his scribe, Zhang Qian. The wall began as fear. Now it speaks of faith. In what lies beyond, night settles over the frontier. The torches along the wall light up one by one, stretching into infinity. Where once those flames were signals of war, they are now the lanterns of a new road. A road that will carry silk, language, and memory across continents. The camera pulls back, revealing the wall winding through mountains and desert, its towers glowing like stars in the dark. And for the first time in centuries, the frontier is not a border. It is a beginning. Autumn, 1368 CE, northern China, Ming frontier. The world has changed, but the wall endures. The banners that fly now are crimson, not black. The armor is iron and steel, not bronze and hide. Yet when the wind rushes across the stones, it still sounds like the breath of the ancients. Beneath the clear autumn sky, Ming engineers and soldiers rebuild the Great Wall with fired brick and granite, layer upon layer, their hammers ringing like echoes of forgotten centuries. Thin smoke rises from lime kilns. Carts creak beneath blocks of stone. Where once slaves and conscripts fell by exhaustion, now trained craftsmen work in rhythmic unison. A new empire renewing an old dream. At Juyong Pass, the heart of the wall's northern artery, a massive arched gate of gray stone stands beneath towering mountains. Red lanterns hang from wooden beams, fluttering in the cool wind. Imperial masons line the slopes, stacking bricks engraved with the Ming seal, while officers inspect the works from horseback. The Emperor's command has been clear: rebuild not just for defense, but for legacy. The wall must now be seen, must speak of power to all who gaze upon it. A young mason looks up from his labor to see swallows circling the ramparts, fleeting, timeless, free. He wipes the sweat from his brow and wonders if those who built before him ever imagined their work would still stand. Decades pass. The Great Wall stretches farther than ever, its towers rebuilt in stone, its parapets lined with gunpowder beacons. Within a watchtower, a Ming garrison captain tends to a row of bronze cannons. Outside, soldiers march with long spears and matchlocks slung across their backs. The fires that once signaled invasion now warn of gunpowder's coming age. A single spark, a single puff of smoke could now carry news across 1,000 elai. Captain, softly, the fire that once feared heaven now serves man. He sets the matchcord aside and stares into the vastness beyond the wall. The empty plains glowing beneath a red sun. Winter, 1644. Snow drifts over the battlements as the wall faces its greatest test yet. The Manchu banners flutter on the horizon, a storm of white and blood. From the towers, Ming soldiers brace themselves, torches flickering against frost-coated bricks. The wall stands as it always has, silent, stoic, ancient, but within its shadow, the dynasty trembles. When the northern gates fall, the torches burn one last time. The empire changes hands, yet the wall remains unmoved, absorbing another layer of history into its cold stones. Centuries pass like sand through a sieve. The Qing emperors repair the watchtowers, but no longer garrison them. The wall becomes a quiet monument, a witness rather than a weapon. Mongolian traders lead herds along its base. Buddhist monks light incense in crumbling towers, their prayers drifting into the wind. Travelers carve poems into the bricks, lines of longing and awe. Man builds, heaven endures. Their words fade, but the stones remember. 19th century. Foreign travelers from distant lands approach the wall, sketching its broken curves with charcoal and wonder. To them, it is myth made real, the dragon of earth asleep beneath the sky. The local villagers guide them through ruined gates, their voices proud yet sorrowful. The wall is no longer defense, nor empire. It is memory made stone. Present day, symbol of eternity. Mist rolls through the mountains of battling. Tourists and historians tread the same stones, once stained with sweat and blood. Between laughter and camera shutters, there are still moments of silence, when the wind whispers the same sound it carried over 2,000 years ago. A lone scholar touches the wall's cold surface, tracing the ancient tamped earth beneath the Ming brick. He imagines the ghosts within, the Qin laborer, the Han trader, the Ming soldier, all bound by one unending dream. The camera pulls back, rising above the mountains. The Great Wall snakes across peaks and valleys, a ribbon of history stretching from dawn to eternity. The light fades into gold, then crimson, then dusk. Narrator, voiceover. Empires fall. Dynasties fade. But the stones of the wall, they breathe still. For they were never meant to stop the world, only to remember it. The wind carries the echo through the valleys, the eternal sigh of the wall that once guarded the heart of heaven.